The man never would have imagined that, right before the time travel, he'd even get to choose the difficulty level of his challenge. As an experienced gamer, he picked the Hell mode without hesitation. Just the amount of experience needed to level up was 100 times that of a regular player. Considering that class also affected the difficulty, he deliberately selected the 8-star class the Summoner, whose potential was at its peak. After making this choice, everything went black, and when he opened his eyes again, he found himself at a completely different world. He retained full consciousness, but his bathing went the then kissing went blameless at Ablin Crabs. But it turned from 20-year-old, he realized speaking into a situation, he was born into a fearless state Babylon, where generations had worked the land without any personal freedom, never allowed to leave the village for their entire lives. It was a classic Hell level start, but fortunately, his parents were both kind and decent people. Around the age of 20, his parents were still deeply in love. The usual golden hair that every time traveler should have ought to have appeared by now, but the Hell level difficulty seemed especially harsh. Even the summoner's abilities left utterly clueless. Then, one night, he suddenly realized he could open his ability panel. The panel displayed the special steps him specials, utterly similar students. Mentally, with the cured out most his body. In these questions he could summon. The fantasy was about to hiss out. He nearly got caught by his mother from sheer excitement. At 1-year-old, his body was simply too clumsy to move freely, so he had to put off his experiment for now. It wasn't until the next day at noon, when his mother went out on business, that he finally took advantage of the midday break to secretly activate his summoning ability. Had he known earlier that at this stage he could only summon H-grade summons 2 levels lower than F-grade, he'd have been disappointed. Yet when he saw the result with his own eyes, he was still summoned. The creature he'd summoned was definitely a grasshopper, the common one he find everywhere than a field. Only slightly larger, he was seriously quitted by intelligence. The criminally saying Eric remains at all, and the stash was really rarer than his own one you would sack for. But soon he noticed something crucial: each summoned creature could provide its master with buffs. A single grasshopper granted him 1 point of stamina and 1 point of agility, directly displayed as suffixes added to his stats. What made him even more speechless was that his very first summon had been trampled to death by someone his fortunate. As long as he had magic power, he could always resummon and resurrect it. Atheli, a protagonist, tried summoning a second Patamouse. Its stats and intelligence were similar to the grasshoppers, but Daedalus traded 1 extra point amount. Date Portal and 1 extra point of physical strength. Initially, it could summon the Simlice and 2 grasshoppers at once, yet it combined its attributes was pointed physical. His raw strength alone was already close to that of an adult. This was probably why the summoner's potential was so high. Of course, don't let these seemingly weak summons fool you. This world was actually full of powerful magical beasts, only he was just too low level to summon them then. Coincidentally, on the same plane, his father and other villagers had hunted them the C-grade magical beast, a giant talented wild boar. The protagonist was curious about what the magical beast was like and begged his father to take him along to see. His father willingly agreed. The boar was Kutimit's would take magic, except it was unusually suited. According to religious fetish, killing saw the secret beast required to take magic that were 20 billion. Now the protagonist had a real sense of how dangerous this world really was. In the blink of an eye, 10 months had passed, and the protagonist's character level hadn't moved an inch, but after using his summoning skills day and night, his summoning skill finally reached level 2. Not only could he summon higher grade, giant level summons, but the maximum number of H-grade summons he could summon had doubled as well. The buff effects had also doubled, and the panel even gained a new feature, the ability to synthesize summons. Just as he was about to try synthesizing, Ian, the Fessum warned him that he didn't have enough magic power, so he settled for something synthesis and tried summoning a new giant level summon that he hit the magic power ceiling. Right now, his magic power cap was only 2 points, and his character level couldn't be raised anytime soon, leaving him frustrated and stuck. Finally, at the age of 3, as his magic power marginally met the requirement, he unlocked 2 giant level summons, a frog and a mole. When he synthesized these 2, he could summon another bird. Each of them provided different stat buffs. More importantly, each summon had its own unique special skill. The grasshopper could leap, the mouse could run, the frog could hunt, and the mole could lead tills. And the true way to make the mouse release summoner was to utilize these special skills effectively. The only downside with the demon of the Tunnel, the summons the taunts and both, making it difficult for them to truly engage in battle. Fortunately, there was a local girl named Hunyo who came to practice swordsmanship with him every day. Despite the fact that, thanks to the summons bouts, his stats were already on par with those of an adult, she always managed to beat him soundly clearly. She was a natural-born swordwoman. Her swordsmanship talent was extraordinary, and her parents noticed, reassuring him not to lose heart. It turned out that in this world, children have the sacrification ceremony at the age of 42. It turned him whether they had in the talents, and this was the illusion specific to rise to fall decision. With the protagonist, it was still 5 men. With now, this further into the sudden with overworthy at the gate and pace of bond. He kept diligently improving his summons and skill levels every day. Even the original grasshopper now obeyed his commands obediently. On this day, good news arrived home. His mother was pregnant with their second child, and his little brother was about to be born. Coincidentally, the grasshopper he'd summoned had crawled up to his mother's feet, startling her badly. This sudden turn of events actually triggered Liba. With rudimentary mentally, this is, they could only deliver the badly using the most traditional methods. Liba's mother kept it to some experience and stopped him to assist with the delivery, setting all the men through the house. Hungry to smell, could only rather this winning safely, and he father married her method. After us, the male protagonist had only set his sights on clearing the Hell difficulty level, but from that moment on, he gained a new mission to protect his little brother. Before long, the day finally arrived for the 5-year-old's talent identification ceremony. The protagonist had expected his 8-star summoner's talents to be revealed to everyone at last, but the results left everyone utterly stunned. He had no talent whatsoever. Even the talent field displayed nothing but gibberish. Baiko. He trusted his talented friend, Mothine, who grown up one summer. He'd written the freestyle so it's his talent. Along with Wasclipper life as a cell, he'd treated a operation along to society while he, predicament, who'd grain chart in the Ether's entire life, forever destined to be a farmer. Yet when his parents learned the results, they weren't disappointed in the slightest. They remained just as proud of him as ever. Though their family was poor, it was always warm and full of love, though no one knew that his true talent far surpassed even that of a sword saint. The dismal result was simply because he'd chosen the head of difficulty right from the start, meaning his growth rate was simply 1% of the normal pace, the description that wasn't entirely wrong, considering how low difficulty became. As for the suddenly titled shimming up was gibberish, he'd just assumed it was a sitting bull. After that, he completely broke into the Syrian, began anything more little inconsequential in the half village. But Grona was completely different. The news of her sword Saint Awakening sent shockwaves through the city's nightly order. Even the commander himself came personally to meet her. The protagonist thought he'd be whisked away immediately, and the two would never see each other again. But unexpectedly, to verify the authenticity of her talent, the commander demanded she undergo a real combat test against none other than the deputy commander of the game. All likely order, in a life-or-death battle fought with real swords. Krenna had never even touched a real sword in her life. All Trina had been in wooden practice swords. How could she possibly win? With using would mean committing treason, and there'd be no way out with death. The fight had to begin. Unlike Eddie Winnibus, who was choosing winning, Krenna herself looked excited. Hearing that she'd get to fight with real swords filled her with anticipation. She had no idea that failure meant certain death. The protagonist knew full well that her swordsmanship far exceeded that of an ordinary adult, but no matter how strong she was, she couldn't possibly defeat a deputy commander who'd seen countless battles. Sure enough, shortly after the fight began, due to her lack of depth experience, a deputy commander suddenly lost a powerful kick. Caught completely off guard, Krenna was kicked 5 yards to room. The protagonist caught Mufutsu. The wonder was sudden the fight, but due to spar lost to Disu. Death and Krav, Krenna's spar suddenly shook with commander suddenly saw to redeem the seasoned charity commander was taken away. When she swung her sword again, her attack was completely transformed, her spiritual energy making it nearly impossible for the deputy commander to defend himself. And with one single strike, she split the deputy commander's sword clean in two. The shocking twist sent the entire audience into utter chaos. The fight was over. The 5-year-old Krenna had defeated the Nightly Order's deputy commander, proving the title a sword saint truly deserved. The commander, who previously harbored us, immediately apologized for his earlier attitude. The crew felt that 3 years ago, Solwing Kapoor's Talis servitor, thinking a sword saint entered Ryoko, only to pre utterly useless. Since then, the mention had become a syphilis sword to go talent started catching. In the commander's eyes, Krenna was undoubtedly worthy. By the time she turned 12, she'd be able to enter the academy for advanced studies, and soon, instructors would even come to the village to let her start learning ahead of time. With one person's success, the whole family rose along with them. Krenna's family had already skipped symptom, and it was wholly a matter of time before they joined the noble class. Yet her relationship with the protagonist didn't change at all. Their families had been close friends for generations, and their parents had been changing for less. They'd never grown distant because of their social strangeness. Still, the protagonist didn't intend that all stages between change and distance were to grow. Only trust friend could provide Bill cards. Their move ahead, he'd still have to walk alone, picking his way forward step by step through the hellish difficulty. The reason summoners were hailed as the strongest 8-star class wasn't just because their summoned beasts could grant their masters attribute boosts. More. Crucially, every time they leveled up, their own abilities would skyrocket. But the protagonist's situation was downright bizarre. When he'd traveled through time, he'd chosen the hell difficulty, meaning he needed 100 times the usual amount of Berserkers to level up. Even more desperate was the fact that, as a sir, he wasn't allowed to lead ability and all his entire life was spit fire, with only few opportunities to gladly SF. Even after reaching level up, his chances were few and far between, and the experience he could gain was negligible. Fortunately, while character levels were hard to raise, skill levels could be boosted simply by constant use. But after raising his summoning skill to level 3 at age 6, he hit a ceiling. To reach level 4, at his current rate, it would take at least 10 years of pace slower even than his mother's childbirth. Now, his family's 3rd child was about to be born, and the only silver lining was that, after leveling up to 3, he unlocked an enhancement skill that permanently boosted 2 of the words of the summoned beasts by 10 points each. Different summoned beasts that different attributes to beast, so he immediately would enhance all of them. At the same point, he was finally able to summon F-weight summoned beasts, leeches, potion pigeons, and one particularly special creature, an apple. Right now, the apple is the only summoned beast capable of granting him a magical boost, and the higher his magic, the more skill uses he can afford each day. His experience efficiency also increases accordingly. Just this one apple alone has slashed years off the time it would have taken him to reach level 4. Yet what piqued his curiosity was how exactly does an apple fight? Each summoned beast has its own unique